Welcome. Before we begin, I would just ask you to check that your cell phones are on mute. Welcome to the Township of Ocean Board of Education Candidates Forum. We have 5 candidates who are running for 3 seats. Each term is 3 years, and they will join a 9-member, nonpartisan body that sets the policy for our school district. I want to acknowledge before we begin you folks, because you've come out tonight and you are actively getting yourselves informed as voters, and that's what the League of Women Voters is all about. So we wouldn't miss an opportunity to say thank you and acknowledge your commitment in being here. We also want to acknowledge the candidates who have taken the trouble to file and get signatures and campaign and be here tonight, and if elected, are willing to serve without pay just for the purpose of serving their community. And we acknowledge and appreciate that. The League of Women Voters is your sponsor, and I just want to point out that we're almost 100 years old. Next year we will be 100 years old. It's no coincidence. It's no coincidence that it's also the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, where women got the vote, because the same women who were fighting for the vote became the League of Women Voters. And as I explained to at least one gentleman that I was trying to recruit into the organization a few minutes ago, the League of Women Voters has welcomed men into our membership for since the 70s, I believe.
Hear it for the men. Let's hear it for the men.
I want to point out to you that the League of Women Voters is nonpartisan, meaning we never support a candidate, we never support a political party or oppose a political party, but we are political. So we have taken positions on many issues, ranging from voting rights to the environment to energy, and we lobby for those positions. So we are nonpartisan, but we are political. I want to that end, one of our major missions is to energize, inform, and get voters registered and out to the polls on election day. As you know, we now have automatic voter registration, so we're really gearing up our efforts to get voters out. I don't have to tell you folks, you are here. I know you're going to be at the polls on November 5th. This isn't the audience we need to tell that to. But what I do want to tell you is when you came in, you may have been handed a flyer. The League is sponsoring 2 other forums that will give you an opportunity to evaluate candidates for whom you will be voting on November 5th. One is next Wednesday night in Freehold in the library headquarters, in Manalapan, at the library headquarters, and it is for the Freehold and Sheriff candidates. The next one is right here in this building, easy for you to get to, and that one is 2 weeks from tonight on Wednesday, October 30th, same time, 7 o'clock, and that would be for the candidates for Legislative District 11. When you came in, you were also found on your seat a business card that had Vote 411. Vote 411 is the League of Women Voters nonpartisan voters guide online. You go in, you put in your address, you will see everything that will be on your ballot, from the state ballot question. I don't know if you know there is one, but it's explained. The League of Women Voters has explained it to you there, and then all the way down the ballot, right down to the folks on the stage who have or will be putting their answers in to League posed questions. So I ask you to check out Vote 411 and share that resource to people and folks you know who may be uncertain about how they want to cast their vote. I want to point out as well that we have a video camera here. The proceedings tonight are being videotaped. They will be available within 48 hours by the weekend. Tonight is the videographer's anniversary, so I gave him special dispensation that it didn't have to be ready by tomorrow. I know you.
Sorry, Kat.
So it will be on Ocean TV, which is, if you have FiOS, channel 22. If you have Cablevision, it's channel 77. And it will also be available, as will the videos for the other forums that I just mentioned, on our website, which is LWVSMC, for League of Women Voters of Southern Monmouth County. And that's about all I have to say. I just want to move into the forum itself tonight and point out to you that the League of Women Voters has been doing candidates forums forever. We put on the very first presidential televised forum, and we continue to do it till the networks took it away from us. We don't hold a grudge. So we have decades and decades and decades of experience, and from that experience we've developed the ground rules by which these candidates have agreed to abide tonight. I want to point out that we take written questions. You should have all been given an opportunity to take a card. I want to point out that we have 2 students from the Ocean Township High School with us tonight, and they're in the back of the room, and if you raise your hand at any time, they will collect a card from you, or if you want a card, they will bring a card to you and then raise your hand to have it collected. One of the rules in these ground rules that I've mentioned is that whenever we do a candidates forum, the moderator for that candidates forum is a member of the League of Women Voters who has been trained, observed, and is experienced, and most importantly, is not a voter in the district of the election that's in question, right? So this evening we have league member of the League of Women Voters of New Jersey, board member of our local league, a trained, experienced moderator, so experienced that she delivers the training to new moderators. So we're very privileged, and she lives outside the district in Neptune, and we're very privileged to have with us tonight Susan Safaris.
Good evening and welcome. Let me move this up a little. All right. How does this work? Okay.
So much for
All right. I guess I'll bend a little bit. Good evening and welcome to the candidate forum for the Township of Ocean. Can you hear me? Okay. I should have adjusted this microphone earlier. As Peggy said, my name is Susan Safaris, and I'll be your moderator this evening. And I do live in Neptune and don't have any vested interest in the results of this election. The format tonight will be as follows. Each candidate, as you see seated alphabetically up here, will give a 90-second opening statement in random order that was drawn before the forum began. And there are 2 timekeepers in the front row, Saul and Robert, who have cards. They have a stopwatch and cards, and they are going to hold up a yellow card that says 30 seconds when the candidate has 30 seconds left. Saul, can you hold up the yellow card so the audience and the candidates can see it? Okay, and Robert will hold up, I guess, or somebody will hold up a red card when the candidate's 90 seconds are up for the opening statement. And I will allow the candidates to finish their sentence and then move on to the next candidate. As Peggy mentioned, index questions written on index cards collected by the students and brought to me, and I will vary the questions by topic. We'll try so it doesn't get boring to keep hearing the same topic over and over again. Some questions might be addressed to one candidate, but I will also give every other candidate an opportunity to answer if they so wish. At the conclusion of the question and answer period, the candidates will have a chance to give a 2-minute closing statement, also in random order that we picked before the forum began. I'd like to ask you to please refrain from taking any photographs or any applause until we complete the forum. You'll have an opportunity to do that at the end. All that being said, welcome and thank you. I also offer my thanks to you for coming out tonight to support this event. And the first order of the opening statements, the first candidate is Amy McGovern.
Good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for having us here tonight. My name is Amy McGovern. My husband Brian and I are both proud parents to Kylie and Mickey enrolled in our Ocean schools. In my professional life, I am a flight attendant for the last 20 years. Volunteering in my community is very important to my family. I am currently a member of the Junior League of Monmouth County, race director for CZIT 5K, as well as being active in Ocean Youth Football and Cheer. I was raised by caring parents and now teach my children, you get more out of life by giving than by taking. That being kind and helping others is valued and remembered by those you meet. I genuinely enjoy being a part of the Board of Education, serving as the Vice President. I listen to various opinions and ideas and weigh them against my own as part of making collaborative decisions. In 2013, the catalyst for my initial run for the board was after attending several meetings, I recognized a need for an elementary and special education voice. I felt a representative for these communities was necessary, having a young daughter with special needs herself. Now, as I run for my third term, I believe my longevity on this board is an asset. I was honored to successfully win a position on the board in my last 2 elections, and I'm hopeful to win again so I can continue to serve our community in Ocean Township.
Thank you. The next candidate to speak is Jeffrey Weinstein.
Thank you for being here tonight, and thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting us. I was appointed to the Board of Ed at the end of last year, filling a vacated term, and I'm also the Technology Committee Chairperson. With my wife Ann and our daughters, we settled here 18 years ago. Both our girls attended Ocean from kindergarten through 12th grade. In 2016, Allie enrolled at the University of Maryland, and Jessica is a freshman at Ohio State University. I paid my own way through college, earning a degree in chemistry and a minor in computer science from Alfred University, and an MBA from Monmouth University. My career has been with software firms, and for the last 25 years, I've been a CEO or partner in several successful ventures. For 15 years, I was involved in the Ocean Girls travel soccer and basketball teams, and I'm happily known by many as just Coach Jeff. Today, I'm an executive at a software firm whose solutions focus on preventing discrimination and harassment, an adjunct professor at Monmouth University teaching entrepreneurship and strategic management, a volunteer on a state economic and a local board. We chose Ocean for its small town feel, its solid schools, and our town's unique quality where Main Street intersects with a very vibrant community. Our district is a vital part of our town's success, and simply, I want to use my skills and energies so Ocean kids and families can be afforded at least all the good we experienced.
Thank you. Could I ask the other candidates to move the microphones a little closer? Apparently there was some trouble hearing Amy, I guess. Okay. The next candidate to give her opening statement is Natalie Tortorello. I should have confirmed that resume.
Yes,
Is that correct?
Yep, you got
Okay.
it. Hello. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's forum. My name is Natalie Tortorello. I'm a current Ocean Board of Education member, having won a one-year term last year in 2018. I'm running for re-election to a full 3-year term. My husband Mark and I live in Wayside with our 2 kids, Dante and Cecilia, who both attend Wayside Elementary. Professionally, I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Our House, a nonprofit that provides housing and vocational programs to adults with developmental disabilities, including autism. There, I'm responsible for the development and management of a $16 million annual budget, and I manage 300 employees. Prior to that, I spent 15 years working for a leading tutoring firm as their head of research and curriculum development. My unique voice will bring a combination of business and education to the board. Locally, I'm an active member on the Wayside PTA. I have served as both the treasurer and the fundraising VP, and now head a number of committees. I hold a master's in organizational psychology and have devoted my career to education and nonprofits, having served on a number of charitable boards. My expertise includes policy development, budget development, and communications, all of which are skills I have put to use this past year on the board. Our school system is strong, but we are also faced with big challenges. My skill set and background are a direct match to the responsibilities of a school board member. I commit to being an active advocate for proactive policies and relevant curriculum, for promoting transparency, and for responsible spending. I'm looking forward to sharing my thoughts and ideas with you tonight and hope to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next statement is Cindy White.
Good evening. My name is Cindy White, and many of you may remember me as Cindy Polano. Most who know me will tell you I'm dedicated, tenacious, and passionate. As a candidate, I wanted to be sure of 3 things: that I am knowledgeable and effective participant, I am a prepared individual, and I have committed the time to what I want to do. The last year, I actually attended more board meetings than 3 of my opponents. I am an unaffiliated, unregistered voter and an Ocean resident for over 50 years. Married to my husband, Kirk, we have 3 sons. Josh and Jeremy and I all call OTHS our alma mater, and Jacob is in 3rd grade at OTES. My roots in Ocean are deep. My record of service to our youth is long. I've served at VP for Pop Warner Football in the Dow Avenue PTA and on the Human Services Alliance. I am currently a Special Olympics coach, coordinator, and family mentor, third year of vice president for our special education PTA, and the founder of our CPAG and Play Local. The 12 years between raising my children, I was an executive for a multi-million-dollar manufacturer. Those years were spent managing staff, writing policy, developing marketing, and I lost my spot, negotiating contracts. I led an acquisition team in the purchase and renovation of a 100,000 square foot facility and worked with state agencies writing grants and developing retention programs. After Jacob was born, I returned to school, received my degree in K-12 education and nursing, and now I am a school nurse in a large local public school district. My experience and knowledge are proof I'm ready to get to work for you, our taxpayers, and our educators, most of all for our children.
Thank you. And finally, we will hear from Grace Ann.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. Can everyone hear me? My name is Grace Ann Tellerico. I've lived in Ocean Township for the past 14 years, and my husband is a lifelong resident. We have a daughter in 7th grade at the Ocean Township Intermediate School. The reason why I decided to run for the Board of Education is simply to bring my professional experience and expertise to help our kids and the community. A little about me. I've spent over 20 years working in the mental health and substance abuse field. I'm a licensed professional counselor and a licensed drug and alcohol counselor. I hold a master's degree in counseling psychology as well as a master's degree in business administration with a major in finance and accounting. I've worked in the crisis ER for 16 years of my career and at several mental health agencies in Middlesex, Monmouth, and Ocean counties. 8 years ago, I also opened my private practice in Brielle, and 3 years ago, I opened my own mental health agency, where my staff and I provide in-home and community counseling to youth and families in Monmouth and Ocean counties. My main passion in life is to advocate for children and families. I have served on several boards, including being the New Jersey State Chair for 3 years, overseeing 21 counties for family support of adults with mental illness, and for the past 5 years, I've served as a treasurer of a local nonprofit that provides family support to parents of children with mental illness. I'm also part of the Disaster Response Crisis Counseling Team for Monmouth County and the Traumatic Loss Team for Ocean County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, candidates. Okay, we're now going to move into the question and answer portion of the evening. And I'm going to read the first question, and this is for all the candidates. What will you do to help implement a mental health evaluation of students that may need help? And we'll start with Amy. We got one?
Yes. Sorry. So I will say that mental health clearly is something that has been coming up in the last couple of years. We have seen over the last couple of years during budget time the need for a full-time staff counselor, which we did bring to the high school this year. We do have as well position for our K-8 population is filled through our Human Services Department. In our curriculum, I would like to see more mental health written into the curriculum. Sorry. As well, it is coming with new state laws that are coming out that have just begun this year. There's a whole new initiative towards mental health. And I definitely think the focus on mental health needs to be greater than the curriculum is at the moment, and hope that it gets implemented.
Okay, thank you. Just a reminder for the candidates, speak to your audience. I'm not voting. I'll get that later. The next answer will come from Grace Ann.
Okay, thank you. The New Jersey School Board Association just released 2 days ago, Building a Foundation of Hope, which is a report that was collaborative throughout the state. And they went to schools to see and put in recommendations. There's 72 recommendations for mental health to be placed into our schools and into our district. And I would like to be part of that with my experience and my background. And I could get into more of what the highlights were, but I don't know if I have more time.
Thank you. Okay. You all have 90 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is. Okay, Natalie, would you like to answer the question at all?
Absolutely. Certainly mental health and security is an area where we need to be proactive. We all remember Sandy Hook. I had to drop my 3-year-old off at daycare that day, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. So I am absolutely a proponent of instituting evaluations for mental health. when we see the need for such an evaluation. I don't know that I would be a proponent of evaluating every single student every year. We do have to recognize costs involved in that as well. But with the implementation of the SAC counselors, the behaviorists, the guidance counselors, we would be able to identify students that are struggling, and then certainly I would be a proponent of implementing a mental health evaluation at that point.
Thank you. Jeffrey, would you like to give the answer to that question?
Sure. Yeah, I think the answer probably has a couple of vectors to look at. One is, taking guidance from the state and professionals on what makes sense to implement and what's actually can be allocated in our budget to kind of solve those problems. I think fundamentally, it feels like it's one of those things where, as a teaching community, we have to figure out how to get our teachers much more sensitive and aware so they could be on the alert for kids who experience those kind of things, so that they become early detectors for kids who have problems. Mental illness and kids who are disturbed is a very wide range of complex issues. And so we have to figure out, how to get people aware, and at the same time figure out how to take those actions so that we can help those children figure out how to cope with whatever situation they're in. And then lastly, I really think it's a lot about the parents and making sure that we communicate with the parents what strategies we have as a district to really support those kids who run into those situations. And so if they can alert us to what is actually going on in their family unit, which may help us be sensitive to that, that could help us be more proactive in helping each of these kids.
Thank you. And Cindy, did you want to address the question?
Of course.
Thank you.
I wouldn't even begin to compare with the experience that Grace Ann has. I will say, doing a little research on the Foundation of Hope, there are a lot of things in play that the schools will be mandated to do. Having a SAC counselor is great. We need more. We need more at the elementary level. We need to be paying attention to our kids at a younger age and making sure that they're getting the services that they need, and not just implementing services at one level and then figuring we'll get to the other levels later. As a school nurse, I see the first line. I see when the kids come in and they're in crisis. And I am the one who has to make a decision when they're there, which way I'm going to send them. If I'm going to send them into SAC counselors, if we're going to call crisis intervention, we do need to train our staff more at all levels. We have to especially pay attention to the levels where we don't provide services. If we look at our elementary school and we have kids coming into the nurse's office with anxiety, we need to have a way to deal with that. We also need to be able to transition our students once they finish utilizing the services at the school to make sure they're getting appropriate services in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask you to answer the next question first. Is that okay? I'll let you know what it is first. This is also for all the candidates. What would you recommend to attract quality educators to our school district?
Okay. The first thing is that we really need to pay attention to our teachers and their needs. Our teachers are some of the most dedicated and enthusiastic human beings that I have ever encountered. And I'm not just talking about this term as Jacob's mom, a third grader, but I also went through it with my other boys who were K through 12. And frankly, when I was a student, we had some awesome teachers. We as a board need to recognize how great our teachers are. We have to make sure that they are fully supported in what they do. And we want to make sure that they're given a safe and supported environment to be creative with curriculum and to be able to address students' needs as they arise. One of the other issues that I have heard numerous times is that we are overlooking existing employees for hiring of positions. We are paying to train these individuals through tuition reimbursement, and then we are passing them by when it comes time for advancement. Those are our best and our finest, and they are moving on to other districts to take jobs because we won't give them to them. So we really need to have some mechanism in place where we are evaluating what's happening with our hiring structure. We will always recruit the best because we are a great district and people want to work here, but we need to worry about retaining our teachers too.
Thank you. Jeffrey, would you like to go next, please?
Yeah, so just a couple of things about that. First off, I think as a board and as an administration, we actually do take our pain and effort to look internally first. And I actually kind of disagree with that premise that we don't really take that to heart. We actually take it very much to heart to take the talented staff that we have now and find career opportunities for them within the district. The other part that is clear is that one of the challenges we have with our with recruiting new talent is that we have declining enrollment in our school district, which means that resources can be and funds can be somewhat hard to get. So what I think is important for us to do is to continually look at the CTE program and figure out how to continually kind of invest in that, which can become somewhat of a mecca for what our school district does and what our school district can excel in. I think that has an opportunity to attract some great talent. Also, as a district, we spent some time this past year approving a number of infrastructure efforts to help improve the general working environment and in this district. And I think those things are continually important for us to reinvest in, because nobody wants to come to an organization that's crippled and not well and not investing in itself. So we have to think about how to continually invest in what we have here, and at the same time figure out how to be a mecca for some of those CTE programs.
Thank you. Natalie, would you like to address this question and bring the mic a little closer to you? There you go.
Okay. So certainly I would echo the sentiments that we do have very high quality teaching staff and extended staff in our district, and we can maintain that through offering them respect, autonomy to teach the way that they see fit. You know, I mentioned up here last year that when my son was in kindergarten, his teacher had modified seating, and I've seen a lot of teachers at Wayside start doing that because that works for them in their classroom to help manage, and that's permitted. Recognition programs are important. You know, everybody wants a paycheck, everybody wants a good salary. That's only part of the puzzle. I see this every day in my day job, that you have to recognize people for a job well done. And I think as a board, we've tried to expand. We bring many students and teachers to our meetings to recognize them and reward them, whether it's a plaque or a certificate. Just recognition and saying thank you for a job well done is really important and goes a long way. I also would agree with the comment that was just made about looking internally. We had a conversation just this week on Tuesday night in our session about a person who was leaving the district, and we had a lengthy discussion about what could we do to retain that person. Were there other options? Could we think outside the box to keep that person? So we do take that very seriously. Building a bench is the phrase I use at work. You have to succession plan. People retire, people move away, and we are constantly looking internally to make sure we have that bench in place. And lastly, I do think an area we can improve in recruiting quality people is a more diverse teaching staff.
Thank you. And Grace Ann, would you like to address the question about staff?
Wonderful comments already. So I just want to piggyback some of those. You know, creating a safe, supportive environment, a welcoming school climate. So listening to teachers, providing that respect, providing the recognition, like Natalie said, and continued education as well, so that they can continue to help our children.
Okay. And Amy, finally, do you want to bring the mic a little closer and talk to the audience?
So first I'd like to say that we have one of the best staffs in place in Ocean Township. We have great administrators, we have great, at every level, we have all great principals, we have great staff all the way from the top to the bottom, and we do, as a board, or as myself, speaking as myself, support those teachers in everything that they would like to do. We do like to bring them out, we like to have them teach to when they go to a course or they are doing continued education, we like to have professional development. A lot of times it's taught by our teachers. We like to attend job fairs, which is what we've been trying to talk about doing more of, to get a more diversified staff and be able to choose the teachers that we would like, and also have the best teachers, candidates apply. Every time we have an elementary education teacher be advertised, we have hundreds of teachers apply. People want to be in Ocean Township because we do value our teachers and we do love our staff.
Thank you. Okay, the next question, I'm going to start with Grace Ann.
Okay.
And the question is kind of a two-part question, so you can phrase your answer whichever part you feel is more important. Will you help introduce new policy about bullying, specifically reporting incidents through the proper channels? What safeguards will you introduce to counsel the person being bullied and the person doing the bullying?
Okay, a lot of questions. Well, absolutely. I mean, bullying is a huge issue for kids, kindergarten through high school. I see many kids that have been bullied in school. And then there's a lot of consequences to that. They either don't want to go to school, or, they get up and there's behavioral problems in school. So to address the policy and procedure, I actually am aware of HIB and the policy and procedure through the state. And I'm sorry, some of the question I just don't remember.
Oh, okay.
How would I implement it?
Yeah. Will you help introduce a new policy about bullying, and what safeguards will you introduce so that the person on the bullying and the one being bullied is counseled appropriately?
Okay. I would love for there to be an anti-bullying group for the kids, so that kids that are bullied could come to the group, maybe by the guidance counselor, maybe by the student assistance counselor, so that they can have a buddy. And then, everyone be able to go through school and be with another child so that they don't feel alone, whether it be at lunch or recess. So that would be one safeguard. But for a new policy, I would like to see someone else besides a vice principal or a principal be the anti-bullying coordinator. Maybe a guidance counselor, someone that could provide some counseling as well as support for the child.
Okay, thank you. Actually, next I'm going to go to... I'm losing my spot. Jeffrey, you are next.
Cool. I forgot that was a round robin to everybody, sorry about that.
It's kind of...
Yeah, sorry about that. Well, first, as every board meeting we have, we go through a HIP report, right, to be able to evaluate the instances that have happened in the district. There are specific guidelines that the district follows, and specific guidelines that the school follows. I feel pretty comfortable that the way we go about that is with people who are caring people, listening people, and professionals that really want to help children and parents through this situation. There may be, I think that one area to think through is, do we have a silent group here that's being bullied that we don't know about, right? And maybe how do we have to unearth that if that's there? I don't think we believe that's there. I think we do a nice job of making our teachers and our administrators and our counselors incredibly sensitive to bullying. As a district, we're incredibly sensitive to it, and as a board, we're very sensitive to it. So I think if there was some area for improvement, it could be to make sure that parents had ways to basically bring up if they thought their kid was being bullied, and figure out how to train them and mentor them to unearth those situations. And at the same time, train our teachers maybe better in how they can recognize when that occurs. Kids are being isolated in a lunchroom or in a classroom, not talking to people, maybe there's something there that can be unearthed. But right now, I feel comfortable that we basically do a pretty good job at solving the identification and how we handle that movement.
Okay, I think we're having some mic problems. Can you hear me now?
Do you want to share with me?
Okay, that's okay. Yes, now you can hear me through the mic or no?
Not over the mic.
No.
Not over the mic. All right, I'm gonna just
Take
talk
this
real-
one out, and I'll share with Jeffrey.
You sure?
Of course I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's early in the night.
I don't know how I can get it all the way over to the podium.
Problem solving.
technical difficulties. Okay, great. Okay, that's better, right? Yes. Okay. The next person that I have on my list, if she would like to answer, is Natalie, about the bullying issue.
Absolutely. You know, we just talked a little bit about mental health, and certainly that relates to bullying on many levels. And I believe that prevention is the key. We mentioned teacher training, absolutely. And I think often with that training, or as our teachers and staff, they're looking for the kids that are being bullied. We also need to look for the kids that are doing the bullying. Why are they being a bully? What's happening possibly at home? What's happening to them educationally, causing them to act out in this manner? So being trained to recognize the warning signs for both the bullies and the bulliers. I also think mindfulness and understanding how to deal with conflict resolution skills is something we need to look at teaching. We have mental health taught in the phys ed and health classes at every grade level. Not sure that we're doing enough there. And I also think we have to recognize the difference between bullying and conflict. You know, when two children, maybe my own kids, are going at it and someone calls someone a name, is that bullying? No, it needs to be persistent, it needs to be ongoing. There need to be other things happening in order for that to be bullying. And not saying we need to ignore the other stuff. We certainly need to address that as well, but we need to be clear about the difference and teach skills to our students how to deal with both, and train our teachers to understand the difference.
Thank you. And let's see, who don't I go to yet? Cindy.
Great.
Please, thank you.
In the opening, I mentioned that I was the founder of CPAC. Is that too loud? Sorry. One of the things that we've done with CPAC is we've created committees, and one of our committees is bullying. And we have some fantastic individuals who are collecting data and talking to parents and dealing with issues. We've actually already come up with and I think Grace Ann mentioned it, the chain. We've talked to administration, and we've developed the chain that people have to go through, and we're making that more accessible to parents and to the students. We need to identify and have additional mechanisms for reporting for students and for parents and for teachers, because bullying is not isolated to the kids. It goes throughout the district at all levels. The Board of Ed website is fantastic now. They redid it. Great job, you guys. But one button doesn't always mean that everybody's going to get access to it. So we need to make sure that kids and everybody has access. We want to create a cross-check mechanism so that when an incident is reported, it's not reported to one individual, that incident gets pulled to multiple individuals, and then they could make a decision if it's really bullying or if it's just an issue that maybe needs to be reviewed. And I'm almost out of time. Irene talked last year, it's something that we did when I was in school. We had peer mentoring sessions. Maybe that is something that we need to get back to, teaching kids how to work with one another, not assume that everything is bullying, but if there is an issue, know how to deal with it.
Thank you, and I think Amy's the only one left to speak.
All right.
Thank you, Amy.
Yes. So as it's been stated, HIB, which is harassment, intimidation, and bullying, we do have state guidelines that we do have to follow as a district. And we do have an anonymous reporting on our website, as Cindy said, and I believe it can be more accessible. One thing about HIB that it's a student report. So the one thing that I do think can be improved is you can't do a HIB report on a staff member or on anyone else. It's only student-based. So there are times where we can figure out maybe a district policy. I wouldn't be against doing something like that to cover our staff. I also think that there are so many ways to bully at this time. You know, it used to just be maybe on the playground or in a classroom, but now we have the social media aspect of bullying, which is a very difficult aspect to monitor as well as cover. And I think that maybe finding some ways to have a better policy on what you do when it's a social media or a phone-based bully tactic. So. Oh, and one other thing is, a lot of times, as we've said, a HIB, when you do the HIB report, it doesn't come out as a HIB, it comes out as a conflict. And I do believe we can have stronger counseling and pieces to be done once it's a conflict, because just because it's not a HIB doesn't mean that it didn't take place and it wasn't something that should be addressed maybe more sternly than it is at this time.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, the next question is also for all of the candidates, and I'm going to start the answering with Natalie. And the question is, our school community is made up of a large percentage of senior citizens. How will you further engage them to show them a return in their investment in terms of their tax dollars, I suppose?
So I think at the end of the day, that question comes down to communication, and I've spoken adamantly about this at several meetings that I don't think we're good at communicating to the community, we being the board, the district administration as a whole. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there to engage our senior community. My mom is a senior in town, and out knocking on doors the past few weeks, I've heard a lot of people, and I heard this last year too, people say, I don't have kids in the school, I don't care about the school board. And then those same people will say, but you're taking a lot of my tax money for the schools. So ignoring that isn't a way to reach out to people and bridge that. Part of our job should be engaging all stakeholders. So I believe the question was, how would we do that? We need better access and easier access to our board meetings and to our presentations and other meetings. I attended at the middle school a couple of weeks ago, a social media presentation. There were maybe 30 people in the room, maybe 40. We should be televising that. It should be on Facebook Live. It should be on the Ocean Cares page or the Ocean TV show, so that TV channel, so that people who can't get to a meeting, maybe a senior doesn't want to go out at 9 o'clock at night to attend a presentation like that. We need to look at recording and putting our meetings up again on Ocean TV, on Facebook. We talked about this last year, and I don't know why we're not doing it yet. So that's something I'm a big proponent of and will be pushing for if re-elected.
Okay, thank you. It's not good. Okay, the next person that I would like to answer is Amy.
Sure. So our senior citizens have been very supportive of our school board. We do have they do the stuff, the backpack for us at the beginning of the school year and bring backpacks, which is always a great thing. In years past, we've had a senior citizen night where we have given tours of our schools. When we finished the referendum project at the high school, we invited them all to the high school to have our meeting there, and they were able to go through the new construction. It's something that they are putting their money towards, and it was nice for them to be able to see the completed project. So I would be very interested in, excuse my language, having them come to more meetings that are at schools. I think people are more interested to come into the school and have a meeting rather than come to this building where there's not much except for what you see around you. So I'd be interested in doing that.
Okay, thank you. The next person I have is Grace Ann. Would you like to address this question?
Yes, thank you. I mean, I would love to get the senior citizens and the residents involved in a collaborative way to even be mentors for the students in some aspect regarding Ocean Township's history, or a lot of Ocean Township residents are business owners, so maybe they can come and they can teach them simple business steps that they use in their business, such as either restaurants or any type of business. But they can mentor them. We need mentors in our community. Every day we're looking for mentors. So that's how I would like to include them into the school district.
Thank you. Jeffrey, would you like to answer the question, please?
I didn't have this. Yeah, I think so. A couple of phases to this. One is I think we got to realize some of the challenges that seniors have. So to come here to meetings and go on the internet and look at videos and those kind of things that might not be targeted to them is probably something we need to address by actually going and seeing them and spending some time to actually engaging them, telling them a little bit about the district, what our challenges are, and what we're trying to do about it. At the same time, when we do that, we can actually then start asking those seniors how they want to attach themselves to solving problems that we have. If you don't give them the context of what we're being challenged with and how to get involved, then, and what we kind of need, you really can't figure out, you really can't get them to be partners in the solution. So I think the other part to this is that there is a, clearly there's a context issue here, which is that as somebody on fixed incomes, seniors want us to have lower taxes and lower spending, which is a challenge because as a district, we're trying to figure out also how to invest in the district and invest in its people and invest in this community so that this can become an asset for the community and an asset for everybody. So we have to figure out how to start having those conversations. I say take it to the people and meet with them and give them context and figure out how they can attach themselves to what we're trying to do.
Thank you. Cindy? Thank you.
Okay, the first thing I have to say is our seniors that are in this community, my mom who's here, who lives in town, I know most of them. A lot of them have chosen to stay here. I went to school with their kids. I've watched them create this community. I watched them build this school district. I don't think they don't know what they want. I think they know exactly what they want. They're one of our largest groups of voters. They're very active in the community wherever we allow them to be. I think that we need to provide them with more access to the school district. I hear complaints all the time that we don't have enough parents volunteering. I'm sure a lot of the seniors would love to come in and work in the library one day a week. And I also think they have a lot to contribute. I know they taught me about service and community, and I'm sure they could teach our kids the same thing. Maybe some of our council members who are here could help us share service and get that bus and maybe provide buses over for when they need them. Another thing that we should be doing, which I posted on my website in the early September, was we should be rotating Board of Education meetings. Our meetings should be going from school to school to school, allowing anybody in the district to see what great things are happening at each school, to feel the culture of the school, and to feel like they are part of the school community.
Thank you all. And then the next question is broken up between a question for the 3 existing incumbents and the new challengers that are running. The question is basically for the incumbents, what positive changes have been made since your tenure on the board, and what were you personally responsible in implementing? And now it's too loud. For the people that are not on the board yet, what will you bring and try to implement? I'll start with Jeffrey.
Hi. So some of the things we did as a board was we balanced the budget. This past year, we hired the district's first behaviorist and student and SAC counselor. We reinvested and spent money on the CTE program and expanded that. We improved our school security by adding more cameras, putting telephony inside some of the schools, doing better policies, procedures, adding more cameras, things like that. Personally, as the technology chairperson, we were involved in improving the IT infrastructure. We added some security walls and firewalls so we could protect the information at our district. We also became a Future Ready Bronze certification school, which means that at every angle how you look at our district, we are really preparing our kids to be ready for the digital age. And we expanded telephones inside the intermediate school, which means that helps us with security. It also helps us with being able to do remote support when teachers need help. So it helps us be just more efficient kind of overall. So those are some of the things we accomplished.
Okay, I think I'll go to Amy next.
Sure. Being that I've been on the board for 6 years, there's been quite a few things that the board as a whole has done that we're extremely proud of. One being our strategic plan that was implemented in 2017. However, we had meetings and everything to lead up to the strategic plan in 2016. We also did a referendum project we had to explain to the constituents about what we were going to build, why we were needing it, pass it, and come in under budget when we did it. One of the things that I will say that I have always lobbied for within special education is our special education supervisor for K-5, which when I came on board we did not have. I also asked for a presentation this year as I kept seeing the BCBA position cut for 5 years as I was on the board. I asked for a specific presentation to be done for the board with what a BCBA, what a behaviorist, and what all of these interventionists were going to do when they came. And it luckily was passed to have our BCBA. So I would say that not lobbying, but pushing for some of those things that some of my fellow board members didn't know exactly what the positions were for was an achievement of mine.
Thank you. And Natalie, you're the other incumbent, right?
Sure. So, the role of a school board is to set policy and oversee budget. We don't operate as members of one. We are a 9-member body. Our job is to work with the administrative team. We don't work on our own. We don't operate on our own. That said, Jeff mentioned a lot of the accomplishments we've achieved as a team. I do want to add a couple of things to that. There's been a few particular areas that I've been vocal about. One of those is saving the science fairs. There was, a couple of months ago, some talk about the administration possibly removing those in favor of innovation nights. And I was vocal in making sure that we keep those at the elementary level. I've been a big proponent of communication. I've talked a little bit about that already. I have a lot of ideas to further that going forward. And certainly, for those of you that attend the meetings, you've heard the discussions about the facility rentals and the concerns that I brought on and talked about through a member of the public, brought it to our attention, and I was very adamant about ensuring the safety protocols for renting our facilities. In particular, there was a church that had a lot of our information on their website that was not appropriate. They were using our logo, they were using our name in the inside of our school in their promotional video. And I was one of the voices on the board that fought to have that removed and make sure that we do not allow that to happen in the future and talk about changing that policy going forward. A couple of other initiatives.
Okay, thank you. Cindy, would you like to address what you would?
Sure.
What you would implement?
I would definitely offer a field level view of issues that happen within a school, since that's where I work in the nursing department in particular, which encompasses a lot. But I also want to talk about some creative funding solutions that I could offer to the board, maybe as a different perspective. Scrutinizing all spending and not always voting yes to every payable report that is presented every month. Identify wasteful spending, support alternate energy source expansion by the addition of solar fields over parking areas, and the possibilities of evaluating acquisition of clean energy transportation when we have to replace our buses. Increasing our tuition-based student enrollment with my 12 years of marketing experience, and implementing exit questionnaires when parents remove their children from the district so we can see what we're doing well and what we're missing at. Collecting and assessing, reviewing data for commonalities that we find, more cost share initiatives like Play Local, evaluate the benefit versus cost of special education litigation, independent audits of all outsourced and professional contracts to identify efficacy. Our current budget, we spent $6 million on other purchase services. We need to look at that a little more closely. And legislative advocacy. I think we should be using our parent groups to make sure that we're getting the funding that we deserve.
Thank you. Grace Ann, do you have anything to add?
Just a little bit, but yes.
Just move your mic a little closer, thank you.
And that was a wonderful list. I would just like to bring the New Jersey School Board Association, Building a Foundation of Hope, the 72 recommendations into the school district and spearhead that. Possibly have or build up a community response team with the community, teachers, administrators, school board members, everyone coming together to help, the children. In the Building a Foundation of Hope, just to give you a couple of highlights about the report, it was a collaborative effort by the New Jersey School Board Association task force focusing on making lives better for every kid and to address what their needs are. Their focus is on prevention, intervention, and proactive response. this can be done by creating cultures of trust in our schools. Team building, social skills, mindfulness, having a welcoming school climate, identifying triggers. Every child known by at least one adult. Every child has a buddy, greeted by one adult a day. We want to cultivate relationships and change mindsets when seeing negative behaviors, from saying, what's wrong with this youth, to what happened to this youth, and find a way collaboratively to reach each student individually. We as a community want to help youth develop assets and good values, and there are 40 developmental assets that are considered to help youth grow up into a healthy, caring, and responsible adult. The more assets that the youth identifies with, the more likely they will make good choices and decisions. And I do have some of those if anyone wants to see them after.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question is for all the candidates, and it is a fairly straightforward one. How do you intend to address the decreasing test scores? And I'm going to start with Amy on this one. Take your time.
So we did on Tuesday night do our presentation on the test scores. And they were, as we said, and as I think Ms. Walden stated, not all exactly what we wanted them to be. We do look at the data, and we invested in a data-driven system recently to help us identify the needs for the test scores and the needs in the classroom. Some of the things that we have put in place as far as personnel goes in the past year, we've reallocated some positions, we've shifted and repurposed to address some of these test score issues. One of the ones that has been working really well has been our elementary instructional coaches. These are not coaches for our children, these are coaches for our teachers. So when teachers are having problems in their classroom, we have other coaches that can go in and help them try and deliver the curriculum a little bit differently and maybe see if those are some of the areas. There's no question that we are a district not necessarily where we want it to be, but we can't blame it all on the kids. We need our staff members to be able to have the abilities and to raise the curriculum and make it better for our kids.
Thank you. Grace Ann, would you like to go next?
Sure. Just briefly, kind of piggybacking on what you're saying, each student learns in different ways. So to identify the needs of the students and then, putting a process in place to help them learn individually to increase the test scores. I don't know. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We'll just go down the row this time. Natalie?
Sure. As Amy said, we had a presentation done by Ms. Weldon on Tuesday night's board meeting. I was absolutely disappointed by the scores, in particular the disparity between the 3 elementary schools. For those of you that have not seen them, Wanamassa scores were very high, Wayside was about at the state average, and Dow Avenue was very low. We need to find out why that disparity exists. We need to find out what we are doing in Wanamassa and some things in Wayside that can be transferred over to Dow Avenue. I'd also be very interested to know, when do those scores level out? Do they level out? When those kids come together in 5th grade, do they level out across all 3 schools? Does that happen in 7th grade? Does it happen in 8th grade? And if it does happen, where the kids that were getting the 80s are now getting in the 50s, and the kids in the 20s are also now in the 50s or 60s, what's happening at that grade level that we can replicate and make it happen earlier? And if it's not leveling out, if the kids that go to Wanamassa and Wayside are outperforming the kids from Dow all the way till graduation, we have a much bigger problem on our hands. I'd also like to look at the data around the high school scheduling. Now that the kids are having math half the year, they're getting math for 90 days instead of 180. Yes, the class is longer, but if I have math the first half of the year and then I take the test in the spring, how do my scores compare to the kids that are in math while the test is taking place?
So a lot of good things said by Amy and Natalie. One perspective on this is that, so we looked at we saw the data, had the presentations. I think really the 6th grade really stuck out to us as like, okay, what the heck's going on here? The macro challenge that from what I heard was more that the test itself and some tests in general are really not that significant or not that important. So I don't know how that became festered. So the idea that not many kids do well on their APs when they already can graduate, and maybe those AP exams are not needed for them to graduate, is something we have to figure out what the remedy to that is. That the state tests are things that the parents necessarily let kids opt out of and aren't that important. And kids talk about it not being that important, right? So I think there's a situational thing here, which we have to make the parents understand how we're using this data to determine the course of action we want to take as a district and how we want to invest in that. And we have to tell the students and figure out how that becomes something that they can help us in actually taking these things much more seriously. The bigger thing that you see is that we still have a lot of the same percentage of kids going off to college, and our SATs have actually stabled at a good rate, right? So that means that the kids are learning, the kids are smart. For some reason during the test taking at certain age groups, it does not have the same intensity and importance as it does at other age groups.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Would you pass the microphone? Thank you.
Sure.
First thing I want to say is I absolutely do not support standardized testing as a marker for cognition, executive function, performance of the student or the teacher, or as a requirement for graduation. We need to have much more aggressive focus in closing the achievement gaps in our school district. We're continuing to see the gaps grow in our subgroups, and it's going to cost us more money in the long run if we don't start tapping into what's failing our students now. That being said, there are glaring achievement gaps, as everyone has noticed or noted, and OTES is dramatically lower. And Natalie, to answer your question, they don't level out. Our OTES students are struggling more in the intermediate school. I am an OTES parent. We have no representation on the board. I don't know if that has anything to do with the services that are implemented for the other schools, which help their test results rise. But I'm glad to see that we are moving in the right direction this year by implementing the instructional coaches. In addition, 6th grade, the question, block scheduling seems to be the commonality that is showing when the 6th grade test scores drop. And I would like to pretend that I know all of this, but I just have a bevy of really super parents who have studied this and who are educators and who share their information with me constantly. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is actually for you, Cindy. I'll start with you.
Let me guess.
Of course, everybody is welcome to answer. How will you be able to make appropriate budget decisions for all students, including special needs?
Okay. For those of you who don't know, I have a son who has Down syndrome. Jacob is 9, he's amazing, and I'm very proud of him. I'm proud of the educators who have worked with him. Stop it. And I'm very proud of the work that my family and the people who have supported us have done with all of us. That being said, I have heard more than 5 times that all I can offer this board is special education advice and service, and that is completely untrue. I can offer more cost containment solutions for special education, and I can also find the right page. Ta-da. Sorry, one of the backgrounds that I have to provide you with is that I was a student athlete here with general education on a business track. My sons came here, they were student athletes in general education. Together I have about 25 years of experience in general education with this school. I was an active school participant, and I'm a pediatric nurse working in a pre-K to 12 district. So I'm responsible every day in advocating for the physical and mental well-being of every child in the building that I'm assigned to. I can offer a lot more with special education because of my experience with Special Olympics and because of the things that I do with special education advocacy groups. But I can also, as I think I have proven tonight, sit at the table and have knowledgeable discussions about issues that pertain to our school district at every single level.
Thank you. Would any of the other candidates want to address the finance question, the budget question, in terms of it, making sure all students are addressed?
Well, just in general, you know, we have an $80 million budget. As far as our student body goes, we have a 28% on free and reduced lunch. We have a fairly high special ed, about 20% for our community. Special ed takes up about $12 million of budget. $4.5 million of that comes from state funding. So I think the bigger challenge for anybody when you become a board member is so I've been a CEO. I'm a pretty experienced person in the area of marketing, technology, accounting. At the end of the day, you have to figure out how you become a policy person and support the people in those positions to make a difference. No one jumps in and no one starts becoming the director of IT or the business manager or a teacher. You have to figure out how you can be part and a partner with this community and how to make that work. So I think everybody needs to be an advocate for what's important to them. I think you just have to figure out how you do that the best way so it can be, so you're always thinking about all the kids first and not a sector of the kids.
Okay, are there any other comments that any of the other candidates would like to address this question? Because I only have time for actually 2 more questions, so we can get to the next question if you like. Amy, you want to address the question? Sure.
I just want to say that there's a person here tonight that I've had many conversations with that has explained to me, because I came on with a very strong special ed force when I came on the board 6 years ago. And we've had conversations about there being pieces of the pie of the budget. And it's you learn, as Jeff said, very quickly to understand that there's so many different pieces, but that so much of the piece is salaries and benefits just to start out. So once salary and benefits, which are fixed cost, we know what they are through our negotiations, you go back to the rest of it, which is not very much left. And you sit there around a table and you listen to the people that know the answers better than you, which are, we look around the table and somebody might know more about technology and somebody might know more about construction and somebody might know more about that and different things. It's a collaborative. We're pieces of the pie our budget, and we're pieces of the pie around the board table. And you listen to who knows and you make decisions based on what your administration and what the teachers want. Everybody meets with Ken, everybody meets with Jim. It's a very long process. Budget starts in October. So, it's a long process that we all sit through, and being through 6 budget seasons, I can tell you that I'm prepared.
Thank you. Natalie?
Yes. I mentioned earlier my background is in education and in business. And when you do this job as a board member, those are the 2 pieces, right? You need to understand the education side of it, and you need to operate a bit like a business because you are managing a budget. I've also heard people say about cutting costs for special ed, and because of the type of agency that I run for adults with disabilities, I don't think that that's appropriate language to cut costs. These are children, they have needs, and as a district, it is on us, it is our responsibility to meet those needs for those special ed students, just as it is for the kids that are gifted or that are on a VOTEC track instead of a general ed track. So I like what Amy said about the pieces of the puzzle and the pieces of the pie, and you do have people at that table that have varying backgrounds, varying careers, and we need to talk about special ed, but we also need to talk about the English language learners, we need to talk about the VOTEC kids, and so forth. When you look at the budget that we're dealing with, and 80% of that budget is taken by salaries and benefits, there's not much left that we can play with. So we do have to be creative, we do have to look at how we can stretch those dollars, and we need to look forward. Sometimes something might look expensive on the surface, and it may have to invest in it up front to then get a long-term investment down the road.
Okay, thank you. Did everybody that wanted to address the question? Okay, actually, I think I only have time for one more question. It's a very general question that was just handed in, and that is, what is the most pressing issue facing the school district, and how would you solve it? And we will start with, well, Grace Ann, you didn't do the last one, let's start with you.
Well,
Move the mic a little bit closer so the TV will pick it up, okay?
for me, a pressing issue would be to bring the mental health piece into the school district, make it collaborative, have the community involved, make a, the community response team. So it's really to bring the New Jersey School Board Association mental health piece into the school.
Okay, thank you. And the next person is Natalie. Would you address the question next?
Sure. Our district has a lot of major issues that we're facing, just as every other school across the nation does. Teen suicide, opioid epidemic, school security, etc. In my opinion, the biggest issue that's unique to Ocean Township is the declining enrollment. We are down 26% in student enrollments in 15 years. 15 years went by quick, right? And 26%, it's a quarter of our kids. There's various reasons for that. People leave New Jersey, people are leaving the state in droves. We have sections of town that are becoming more summer rental than year-round residents. And we have the real issue where many of our high school students are choosing to attend the academies or private school. We've lost funding and we will continue to lose funding. We're losing $2.2 million over the next 5 years. And that is largely based on the decreased student count. So as a board, we've got to start looking at how can we keep these students in-house. Certainly, I don't think we have much control over the real estate market, but I think that we can look at how can we keep these high school kids in district. One example of that is with the CTE schools. We've got to start talking to families and kids in 5th grade. I know it seems young, they're only 10, but if they have a penchant for math or they have a penchant for the visual arts, we've got to start making them see the value of our internal CTEs at a young age, so that by the time they are ready for high school, Ocean Township is on their list of where they want to go.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Where am I at? Jeffrey, please.
Yeah, so unfortunately, the overwhelming challenge is the idea that our funding is going to decrease over the next 5 years by $2.2 million, and that every year we're losing about 3% of our enrollment. So that's the overwhelming thing. Some other things that kind of filter into that is the overall just changing demographics of our community, which is that we are now from 17% 10 years ago to 28% free and reduced lunch, right? So that's a challenge. We're now a district that has 1/3 is a minority, is minorities, which challenges us in English as a second language, those kind of things. New parents coming into the school system that don't know how to communicate well with their teachers or understand how to take their kids through the school system and be a good advocate, right? So I think there's a lot of those kind of challenges. I think that part of us being successful is figuring out how to raise all boats. And that means figuring out how to take the new families into our community that are English as a second language, are free and reduced lunch, and figure out how to communicate and mentor those families better so they have a way to become better advocates for those kids so that they can rise up. That's what we have to figure out how to do. And as an entity, the district at its core is an advocate for its kids. And the vehicle to be a better advocate for its kids is figure out how to mentor and coach the parents. I heard Mr. Milano at the Dow Avenue School, not Dow Avenue, at Monmouth give a speech.
Excuse me, your time is up. You just had it up there.
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry.
Okay, Amy?
He gave a great speech. If you want to know about it, ask me.
Okay, Amy?
Yes, so I will say that can you repeat the question so I can phrase it?
Yes, I will. What is the most pressing issue facing the school district and how would you solve this?
Okay, so I think that the most pressing issue is funding. I think that in the last couple of years, our funding has gone down significantly. As we said earlier, we have an $84 million budget. 80% of our budget, which is $60 million, goes to teachers and their salaries and their benefits. So that doesn't leave a ton of money left to do all of these implementation programs that we want. So we have been proactive as far as meeting with our legislators to try and figure out how the funding can be brought back. Unfortunately, the legislation has designated Ocean Township as an overfunded district based on the income levels and property values in the township. So I've sat in on meetings when I was the finance chair with then Senator Beck. We meet with Assemblyman Hotaling and Downey and Van Gopal to talk about some of the ways that we can bring the state aid back. We're going to be losing, after 2025, we'll have lost $2.2 million on top of the $2 million we lost when the state let Lock Arbor go. So that's $4 million just in the last 2 years that we have lost. We will be getting 4% back based from our staff benefits this year, which was a savings of about $700,000. We need to do more shared services, more cooperative purchasing. We have applied for more grants in the last couple of years than we have in many. So we've been very lucky to get grants to start our CTE programs and things like that. So more grant funding too.
Thank you. And Cindy? Give him a microphone. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Amy pretty much ticked off everything on my list that I was going to say. One of the things that Natalie mentioned was that we're working harder to bring students in-house. One of the discussions at a Board of Ed meeting was to remove extracurricular activities from students who were leaving the district. I do not agree with that, and I think we need to find a different way. The kids who go to other magnet schools can still come back and participate at Ocean because we're their home school. We need to wipe that idea off the table. Our children deserve an opportunity to be well-rounded students. The funding cuts and fiscal responsibility is more than a line item on campaign literature. The Board of Education is nonpartisan, yet there's consistently been strong party support by the same party that took $2.2 million from us. And we really need to look at what we're doing as far as legislative advocacy to make sure that our legislators are putting the money back into our schools and back into our budgets and not considering us overfunded. We need to also look at the meeting minutes and assess the voting record of the 3 incumbents to make sure that they are voting consistent with what they're talking about, or is everything just a simple yes vote? We also need to audit and review all outside contracts. There's $6 million in other that really needs to be looked at.
Okay, I would like to thank all the candidates for their considered attention and wonderful participation tonight. And now, as I mentioned, they have an opportunity to close out the program by giving a 2-minute closing. And the order that we agreed to when we started, Natalie, you're slated to go first.
Great. Thank you to the other candidates and all of you out in the community that took time to be here tonight. Coming from an education and nonprofit background, I'm in a unique position to understand the issues that we are facing in our school system. Boards are here to set policy and oversee budgets, which is exactly what I get paid to do in my day job. I find myself energized to come out on Tuesday nights and do that same work for our district. It's a challenging position with a lot of hours, but I know that my skill set is a perfect match, and I love the work that I'm doing knowing that I'm making a difference for our kids. From being vigilant with their social media access to providing appropriate supports in school, we must meet each child where they are to help them reach their fullest potential. We each play a role in ensuring that Ocean graduates are healthy, well-rounded individuals that grow into productive citizens. The cuts to the budgets are not going away, as we talked about. And as a leader of a successful nonprofit, I'm used to budget cuts, and I have experience meeting with legislators to get things done. My organization is funded like a school district with dollars that have to be stretched to meet a variety of priorities. I do this every day, find efficiencies that allow for unexpected demands while balancing needs versus wants. And my voting record in the past 10 months supports everything that I've said tonight, including budget comments. We have to be innovative in how we use the tools in place, and we must engage stakeholders in that process. We have to look at our long-term return on investment. If elected to another term, my goals will be to increase communication between the district and families. In particular, the middle school, I hear that there's a big drop-off once the kids get to 5th grade with communication. We need to turn some attention and improve that. We need to get creative with how we meet people how we reach the audience, how we reach families, whether that's using different apps like the Remind app or phone chains. There are a lot of ways that we can explore that we haven't yet. Another goal is to provide strategic oversight to the budget and to foster a proactive approach to school security. I'm eager can I finish my sentence? Okay. I am eager to give back to my community and offer my skills for the next 3 years. I hope that I've earned your confidence and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next is Jeff.
It's like a little entry act or something. I appreciate that. Help warm up the crowd a little bit. Good meeting everyone tonight. I hope this gave you all a good chance to get to know me and that you like what you heard. If so, tell others, and if not, call me. Thank you to my fellow board members for choosing me to complete the one-year vacated term. The board consists of thoughtful people, and although we do not always agree, we greatly care about all the district and all its students. In my 11 months on the board, you heard about our board's accomplishments from myself, Amy, and Natalie. As the technology chairperson, I was active in supporting our district's team on a host of technology initiatives we covered tonight. I want to thank the team for their work and thank them for partnering with me. However, far more needs to be done across our schools. As you heard, our district is being challenged and we need to focus on what we can control in the scope of what is available to us as a board. Firms have brought me in as CEO to drastically right a ship, and all decisions were placed under my control. The Board of Education does not work that way, and it functions best when its members work together on priorities that are good for all its students, families, and community. That means members must be selfless to the cause and knowing what is in our control to alter and what is not. I'm a passionate yet balanced guy that judges every issue on its own merits. My background, education, and board experience and spirit, I believe, make me the right person to continue on as your board member. Coaching my girls' basketball team, we had rules that we'd state every practice and game. Number 1, no shortcuts. Number 2, get better every day. And number 3, be fearless. You can expect all those from me. A shout out to my wife, Ann. 27 years ago this week, I asked her out on our first date. Best fearless move ever. Thanks, and I hope I earned your support this election.
Thank you. Okay, Grace Ann, you're selected next.
Thank you. So in closing, thank you everyone for your questions and interest in coming out tonight to learn more about your school board candidates. My main goal, again, is to help our youth by providing my mental health and substance abuse training, experience, and passion into our school district. Again, I would like to bring mental health initiative to our district based on the mental health recommendations and New Jersey School Board Association task force has reported in building a foundation of hope. This will require collaboration, communication, and follow through. I'm willing and motivated to do this for our district, for our children. Let's do this together. Please vote for me on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Cindy is next.
Thank you to the candidates and the League of Women Voters for always giving our community the opportunity to meet the candidates. To my husband Kirk and son Jacob for being beside me every single step of the way, and to my friends and family who have encouraged and trusted me to the nonpartisan, independent voice they want on the Board of Education. There are some very important things I would like you to take away from tonight. Our senior citizens need to be lauded for their contributions to the community, thanked for their taxes, and given opportunities to be part of the district. Special education is funded, and there is much more that we can do to contain spending without taking away from the children who need the support to succeed. The fabric of our district is changing. The census is down, subgroup populations are increasing. This is an opportunity for us to shine as a diverse, inclusive school community. Let's embrace it. We need representation of all of our schools on the Board of Ed, and collaboration between parents, community, and administration is proven to enhance school climates and close achievement gaps. Together we can do more. Fiscal responsibility is more than a line on campaign literature. Look at the record of the candidate. Who shows up? Who's voting yes without question? My plan for funding solutions will be posted on my website and Facebook tonight. You don't want to miss it. My long-term existing working relationship with the township and the Ocean Township Police Department will enhance a collaboration in shared services and school security. We need to do better for mental health services, harassment, intimidation, and bullying at all levels of our district. Our staff, not just our teachers, are, as a majority, exceptional and dedicated. They deserve the recognition for the work they do, and need to be supported in the classroom and for advancement within the district. When you vote for Cindy White, you're voting for a board member with vast knowledge base, dynamic skill set, a lifetime of experience, and a whole lot of ideas. Exercise your right to vote on November 5th, and when that curtain closes, you should make your decision based on the individuals that will continue to work hard for you and your family. I know I am one of them. Vote for Cindy White and check out my website, cindywhite4otboe.com.
Thank you. And finally, we will hear from Amy.
I'm going to start my closing with a quote that represents me. Your children will become what you are. Sorry. So be what you want them to be. I began this quest inspired by my daughter Kylie, and have come to realize that all students throughout the student body are inspiring me to press further. My experience on the Board of Education has given me a broad viewpoint of the many components of our school district. We are a nonpartisan policy-making board. We review, update, and adopt policies as needed. Currently, I am the Vice President, and I serve as the Chair of the Personnel Committee. I also believe strongly that education goes much further than the classroom, and a well-rounded student is a better student. As a board, we want all students to succeed, and we need to recognize there are many paths to success. We need to encourage the unique talents of all students. I celebrate their passions and advocate for new curriculum to keep current and competitive. I'm proud of our whole district staff and strides, and I'm confident my contributions and unique insight will continue to further positive development. I feel encouraged by the new opportunities our expanding Spartan Schools CTE and now our preschool grant will bring. I'll be grateful to be re-elected to see these newly implemented programs through to fruition and continue to work for balanced fiscal responsibility with these programs. My ability to be open-minded and non-judgmental goes a long way as a board member. I'm a sensible person that has an unwavering support for the common good of all students and staff throughout the district. I'll always push for what is truly needed and necessary for students and professional growth, and I'm passionate about making all of our schools better. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, my family and friends for all coming out tonight. I hope you found that the Ocean Township Board of Education decision is an easy one, and that you vote the number 5 spot for Amy McGovern.
Okay, thank you to all the candidates. Okay, I am going to declare the forum completed. Again, I will, as the candidates did, I will encourage you all to, excuse me, to go out and vote on Tuesday, November 5th. Between now and then, go to vote411.org, where some or most of these candidates have already or will shortly post some answers to some of our league's questions. And also, as Peggy mentioned, it's on the ballot top to down, top to bottom, starting with the public question and the legislators and so forth.
This is Amy's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Amy. And I guess they're willing to stand around for a little while and meet you personally. Thank you all.